welcome to the Steady Wish. So today is the 9th of November. What an election day we had, and election season, I guess, we're going to have. So I wanted to talk about the election, give you my 2 cents, go over some concerns. So let's get to it. So I got the current results pulled up here. And mainly, I'm not going to go through in great detail every single race. But you can see here, let's go up to here. You can see the current standings here. Some of the races have been called. And even among those, there are some that are very thin margins of victory for either side. And that is not necessarily a good thing. There was a lot of talk beforehand about there being a red wave, which I think is interesting that it did not really happen. But I also want to say that I don't think a red wave would have changed much of anything as far as how the government works, what the government's going to do, what the war machine's going to do. Because red, blue doesn't matter. What matters is establishment or not establishment. Populist or establishment candidates. And honestly, I don't know how many populist Republicans got into office. I haven't looked at that closely, but I will say this is something that I see on the right, a lot more populist candidates, especially since I think that's the whole reason why Donald Trump won 2016. Whether you like him or not, whether you agree with him or not, I think he won because he was an outside candidate, in a sense, or he was viewed as such. And I think it started a populist, maybe it didn't start it, it accelerated a populist movement on the right. And I've seen the left go the opposite way. Now, what's going to happen with all these close races? I think there's going to be a lot of accusations, maybe even some evidence, who knows what's going to come, but accusations of voter irregularities, questions surrounding the process, and I think that has been going on for quite some time. People questioning it. And I think that the way forward is to take every single question seriously, whether it comes from the right or the left, and address it, get to the bottom of it, prove people right or prove people wrong. Let the facts do the talking. Now, if we don't do that, then we put people in a situation where they feel like their vote doesn't count or their voice isn't heard, and that's when you get violent revolution. Basically, if they go through the legal process of investigating any questionable election instances, that's their peaceful way of trying to resolve it. That's their peaceful way of trying to be heard. And if a populace is not acknowledged when they have questions of being heard or represented, then they'll move to either peaceful means, as far as protesting, or violent means, which also could be protesting. It doesn't matter. I'm not speaking. I'm referring to lawful and unlawful protesting. The lawfulness of it is irrelevant to what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the process of what the future could hold if we keep going down this path. So the fact that things are so close in a lot of races, I think there's going to be a lot of questions. If those questions don't get addressed, if they don't get answered, we could be in a situation that could lead to conflict. Now, some of the race, look at this. Hold on, let me switch over. We have, in Arizona, for instance, one of the big races that people have been paying attention to between Kari Lake and what's her name? Hobbs, Katie Hobbs. 69% of expected votes counted. Look at that difference. 10,000 votes. 11,000 some odd votes. 11,800 votes. That's not huge. So whoever wins is going to, there's going to be questions. And there was questions, there were questions before the election too. I mean, you had Biden saying that people needed to, or candidates needed to accept the results because there were questions beforehand. You had Hillary Clinton saying that the GOP is trying to, what did she say? Trying to steal the election or something like that. Don't quote me on that. Basically, you had both sides questioning the election. And I think you have the vast majority of people questioning the process and whether or not their vote counts. And I think we need to work on making sure the election process works. Now, some people might say that Well, there might always have been corruption in the election process. There might always have been how do I say it? Unsavory dealings, actions. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't address them. We should address. Why not address them now? I don't think. I don't know. I have no evidence of any sort of fraud as far as I'm concerned, but I think every instance, no matter how big or small it is, should be addressed. Something that I find interesting too, and many of you will probably already be aware of this, but look at that. You can see, and I believe this is a house. Yeah. You can see that most of the areas that are blue are in the cities, the big cities, and most rural America is red. Now, that's why we have the systems in place that we have, and we don't have a peer democracy, to make sure that the people in the less concentrated areas, as far as population go, are represented. But when you have, take Minnesota for example. Minnesota's a good example. Let me zoom in. You have the majority of the state being red, and then you have the cities blue, and even if you go to not the Senate, governor race in Minnesota, blue, major city, I believe this is that over by Fargo? Sorry. Blue, major city, I believe, I wonder if this is Mankato area or major cities, or at least the bigger cities are the ones that are more blue. Now, if you are living in the red area, you are going to feel like, well, it doesn't matter what. Shoot. Something's going on here. You might feel like your vote doesn't count. Sorry about that. That's because, you have those densely populated areas that are going to cancel out your vote, and you might look at the map. Let's go back to it. You might look at the map and be like, well, most of the state voted red, and so we should have, red candidates winning. whether or not that is true is irrelevant. It's how somebody might feel, and that's going to cause them to question things, and that's why you need to listen to those concerns and address them, and if you have the facts to back up why there, or if you can prove that there was no fraud, or they can prove that there was fraud, whichever is the case, it should be taken care of. So then whichever party is bringing it up basically can't complain about it anymore, because tensions are rising between the two political parties, and I think this just makes it worse. This inflames things, and we are going to you saw it the last few elections, you saw it before this election, posturing of my side is not going to cheat, your side is going to cheat, and it just, there's no reconciliation of that. There's no middle ground, and we don't want a civil war. We don't want a conflict like that. I will say, however, that perhaps a good thing to come out of this is that the political parties are somewhat even, hopefully, and they won't be able to work together because they're really good at working together to maintain power, grow the size of government, and steal from you, as far as or in the form of taxation and other things like eminent domain. It is very, very interesting, though, that this happened. This way. Although it is not over, and we won't know the results, and that's another thing that so if we don't know the results for a while, if we have these predictions or these races that were called, and then something happens, and something gets brought up or what have you, then if any decisions get reversed, you're going to have one side that's the losing side of that situation, claiming fraud or cheating, and that I don't think that's going to go away. And we've had that as long as I can remember, and probably longer, because I'm not that old, but either way, be ready for whatever happens. But what I think is going to happen is much of the same old thing. And that is the government growing. There might be some pushback to that. It's not really going to result in anything because we don't have the populist support that we need, the populist candidates that we need. I hope I'm wrong about that. Um, but I guess only time will tell. I mean, let's see. Let's go back to this. I mean, look at some of these races that are pretty close. You have in Oregon 78%, and you have 30,000 vote difference. And again, that's for governor. Let's go House, Senate. It's 200,000. But look, you see these states that are completely blue, and they're really blue in the city area. Which this is another thing that concerns me about this. These states, California, New York, Washington, Oregon, these states that are blue are blue because of the cities. And they were blue. Let's go governor-wise, because that's probably more important as far as this point that I'm trying to make. Okay, for example, California, Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom that locked everything down, made with the COVID, and made sure that or told people to stay inside, don't go anywhere, and then he's out at a fancy restaurant eating, having fun. And these people continue to vote for that. They're voting to be subjects of tyrannical rule, essentially. I mean, you look at New York. Look at that. New York. You got like upstate New York all red. You have the cities blue. And the people in the cities, here's the thing, the people in the cities of these states should have been the ones that were, had the most restrictions and most affected. But you had these governors that sent, you got Michigan too, Gretchen Whitmer, like, what are people voting? People are voting to not have control over their lives. It's insane. It's insane. Whether or not, whatever your stance on the pandemic, COVID situation was, or is, it's like these are people that went to some extreme measures, and they made some terrible decisions as far as sending COVID infected patients into nursing homes. They took measures that made things worse. And it is really head scratcher, but it's not, because if you look at throughout history, people have that's how tyrannical regimes come to power. It's usually through a vote. People cheer it on. They have support. I guess even if there is no vote, they have support and people cheer it on and they welcome it. And it's extremely, extremely concerning. So, again, we'll see what happens because if, I mean, the problem with that situation is if they want to, say in New York, if they want to vote, or no, let's go back. Let's go to Michigan. If they want to vote for Whitmer, that's fine. But it's only the cities, basically, only the large cities voting for her. So they should be, if they want to be subjugated, okay. But the rest of the state shouldn't be subject to those measures that are, switch this over. So, I mean, look at that. The rest of the state shouldn't have to be subject to those measures. And I think the problem that we face is that our system is a little outdated as far as how dense the population in cities has become. And I think a potential solution is, well, I think the solution is always decentralization. But a potential solution is decentralization, meaning splitting up of the country. I don't know if that would make us weaker. But I think people would be, I mean, we've got states that their populations are like huge compared to when the United States of America was founded. And we haven't increased our representatives at the same rate as population growth. So no wonder people aren't feeling represented, because they're not being adequately represented. So see what happens. But more of the same means higher prices, more inflation, more printing of money, more pushing of war, proxy war or direct war. And less you can do about it, that's more of the same. So I hope it's not. I hope we get enough support to rein in the federal government. We could maybe get enough support for a convention of states. But we'll see. Actually, I wonder where we're at on that convention of states. Let me check that. Not. Let's see. Not able to pull it up here. All right, here we go. Now I'm getting it. All right. So 2/3 of 34 states passed the resolution. Convention of States will be called. Well, let's see what we got. States that have passed, 19. That's all the green states there. Yellow passed in one chamber, and blue have active legislation. So, and this has been going on for a while. So we're a little ways off from that, but that's just another option. Another path to reining in the federal government, but another safety measure that the founders put in place. But anyways, if you made it this far, tell me what you think. Tell me that if I'm wrong. Tell me what do you think, if we're heading towards conflict, if we're not. And remember, no matter what side you're on or how you're feeling about this election, that you're probably not in the club anyways, so it doesn't much matter. The most important elections, the ones that really matter, are the local elections, so focus on that. I know where I'm from, we made some pretty good we had some good wins for our local election. So, alright, I'll leave it at that. See you next time.